Hey everyone! Today I'm going to be talking about my first 3 submissions for the Inktober challenge of this month. For those of you that don't know, Inktober is a challenge that takes place over the entire month of October. The challenge was created by Jake Parker back in 2009, and this year, and I think last year as well, an official list of prompts was released for each day of the month. So for day 1, they give you an adjective that will help inspire a drawing, and there's 31 adjectives for the 31 days of October. One of the reasons that I like this challenge so much is because the rules are so simple. And there's really only one rule, which is your drawing must only be completed using ink. And then you post it, use a hashtag, and there you go, you did it. But I really like ink drawings, and I don't use ink as much as I want to. So this challenge really helps me use as much ink as possible and get more familiar with my inking skills, which is good because inking is difficult. There's really no way to skip over practice time. You only get good at inking by practicing it. And having said that, that really just goes to show that my submissions are not going to be perfect. Especially because I did most of these late at night, and I'm not going to lie, I'm severely behind in the challenge. But at least I'm still doing it. I was talking to one of my art teachers, and he was like, hey, you should really be doing Inktober this month. I really thought you would. And I was sitting in class, I think it was October 6th, and I go, isn't it a little late to start? And then I was thinking about it, and then I went home, and I think it was 12 in the morning, and I go, oh my god, I need to start Inktober. And I did. So now I'm really behind. I still have a lot of catching up to do, but I'm happy that I am doing the challenge because I've always been interested in it. I've loved seeing other people's submissions over the years, but I've never tried it myself, and this is the first year that I am trying it. And yeah, I guess it's a time commitment, but you don't have to do a drawing every day. I mean, that's ideal, but life is life. You're gonna be busy some days, you're gonna not have time to draw. So, you can be like me, and start late, and skip days on accident, and then be really, really behind. But at least I'm doing it. And I do plan to finish before the end of the month. I'm probably just gonna find a weekday, sit down, and bust out 7 drawings in a row. So, the first drawing, the prompt was Swift, and by my drawing, pretty sure there was no way you could tell unless you were a Pokemon nerd. I was gonna say fan, but then I realized that nerd is probably more appropriate. So in the Pokemon games, yeah, I just said that. In the Pokemon games, Swift is one of the moves you can use, and when you use it, it's just this little star spiral that goes in a little circle, and it makes a little twinkling noise. So when I saw the prompt, I was like, alright, fast things, okay, we're probably gonna ink a cheetah, And then I was googling pictures of cheetahs, reference pictures, and I'm like, actually, we can do better than this. And this happened. So yes, Swift is the move that this Flareon is using, and I really can't believe I'm saying this out loud. But it's what I did, so I'm gonna explain it. So I like to think of this first drawing as more of a test drawing, get a feel of Inktober, because let me tell you, this is not what my other ones look like. When I looked back on this one compared to my other ones, I realized that there was not that many values at all, maybe 2, and I used a lot more ink in the future drawings. So this is my trial, and not only does my next drawing have a lot more ink, but it also makes a lot more sense. So the next prompt was divided, and in this drawing I decided to do a apple being split in half by a large knife. The apple being divided in half by a large knife. Now, one of the only downsides about ink is that it's really easy to mess up and really hard to fix your mistakes when you mess up. So I did sketch in pencil first, and then got rid of all the pencil at the end so that it would still just be ink. That's not cheating, right? But with my pens that I was using Pigma Microns. I was using a smaller tip so that I could get smaller lines and stuff. But when you use a smaller tip, I feel like it's easier to wiggle your hand a tiny bit and mess up. And it became kind of obvious that I messed up on the top of the knife once I go over it in ink. And there's really no way around that. It's ink, it's on the page, it's permanent. So I ended up thickening a lot of lines to cover little mistakes. And I did that throughout a lot of my drawings. But I don't actually feel that bad about that because I liked my stuff better when the lines looked thicker. because the shading lines on the inside were the thin ones, so the thicker lines on the outside I felt just brought out more depth to the drawing. And I know I mentioned before that in my first drawing there wasn't that much ink on the page. Well, this one, there might have been too much ink on the page. I started quote-unquote shading with my pen, and in like the middle of the piece of apple where the back is faced towards us, I realized that it looked like crap. And then I was like, okay, I gotta cover this up with more ink, right? And it looked a little bit worse. So then I'm like, okay, I just gotta put ink everywhere. So I did, and towards the end I was pretty satisfied with the outcome. But then I stepped back and was like, maybe I went a little overboard. But all in all, I did like this one better than the first one, so no complaints. And I guess this one could be considered a trial too, since the third one came out the best out of all three of them. During this drawing, I learned that the smaller tip of your pen, the less control you have. And if you feel you don't have good control, don't try shading with thin lines, because your lines come out slightly rounded, or they have weird tails at the end, and the whole thing kind of looks like a big mud pile. And that's what the center of the apple looked like. You could just see all the individual lines. They were all going in different directions. They had weird curves at the end, and it kind of just looked like mud. And now for the third and final drawing of this video. The prompt was poison. And oh my goodness, I liked this one. So as you can tell, I started out with a skull. And with the skull, I wanted it to symbolize, poison obviously, but not just like a skull, like, oh, death. I wanted it to be like, you know those cartoon bottles of poison where they have the label with the little skull on it? That's kind of what I was thinking. By the time I got to this drawing, I was feeling a lot more confident with my abilities with these pens. Because the first two, I had a lot of mixed thoughts and feelings about them and the outcomes and how I handled them. Because inking to me is kind of like a sacrifice. You only have one shot at it, and I usually go in without a huge plan. Because once you get your pen to touch the paper, that's it. Like, you gotta produce now, and you gotta know what you're doing. And I'm not gonna lie, sometimes I have no idea what I'm doing. I know what I want it to look like, but sometimes I just don't know how to actually complete it. So I take a lot of risks with my ink. And around here, I was starting to feel a lot more confident with what I was doing. This drawing did take me the longest, but out of the three of them, I didn't really spend that much time on them. They were done on very small sketchbooks, and I wanted them to be little drawings so that I would have time for each of the drawings that I needed to do in order to catch up with the rest of the challenge. Because as I'm recording this, it is October 16th, and I've only done like 6 drawings. So yeah, I got a good 10 to do, and I wanted to keep them small so that catching up is possible. So anyways, that being said, the real-time recording of this drawing I think was 48 minutes, which is great, honestly, because it's something that I felt comfortable with posting on my Instagram, and usually things I post on there take around like 3 hours or something like that. It's usually finished pieces that had a lot of work put into them, and I was really happy with the way this one came out in comparison to the amount of time I spent on it. And as you can see, I did a lot of shading in these drawings with lines, which is kind of funny because going into this, I thought I was going to be doing a lot of cross-hatching, but instead I just did regular hatching. And this was the only one so far that had a lot of areas of solid black, which I liked a lot, because then from the solid black you could draw out those lines, you know, like expand them from the dark and make it look like a real shadow. I mean, it does look better from farther away, but I think the overall effect of the shading on this one was definitely the most effective. Out of the 3 in this video, this drawing was definitely my favorite. It took the longest, like I said, but it was definitely worth it, and it made me feel a lot more comfortable with my pens afterwards. Because just like the other 3, I wasn't exactly sure how this one would come out, and I'm really happy with the way that it did come out, and now I feel a whole lot more comfortable with these solid black shadow parts and the line hatching. It's just a lot more comfortable in my mind now. So I'm hoping that a lot more of my drawings will end up looking like this, and I am pretty happy that this this prompt fit in with Halloween, because Halloween is my favorite holiday, and if I could have it my way, I would decorate rooms and stuff for Halloween all year. Like I'm sure we all know that one person that just goes full out and has all that stuff all over their front lawn for Halloween. That's not me, but I wish it was, and if it was, that would be on my lawn all year. So as I'm finishing up with the poison drawing, I just want to say these are my first 3 drawings for Inktober of 2017, and I am super excited to finish it. I have never done Inktober before, and I'm really psyched to see how all my drawings end up and how other people's look too. Because one of the most interesting things is once you finish a drawing, you can go on Instagram or anywhere and see what other people interpreted the same prompt as. Just get a glimpse at how their mind works and how much different they think than you. So, thank you guys all so much for watching this video. I'll probably have a flip through in the beginning of November for all my Inktober drawings, and I really hope to see you there. So, thank you guys, and I'll see you in the next video.